finally happened. I left my shoes in the boot of my car for 3 weeks next to a leaky bottle of antifreeze, and they went mouldy. Super mouldy. This mouldy. If you take anything at all from this video, please let it be: don't leave your shoes in the back of your car next to a leaky bottle of antifreeze, because your shoes will go mouldy. Really, really mouldy. This mouldy. It was bleak. But what did I do? Did I go all modern and disposable income and throwaway society and say, shoes ruined, I throw? No, my friends. What I did was I used the lessons of my ancestors, and I used a little bit of housewife magic to clean my shoes up. Believe it or not, those shoes are now in a wearable condition because of 3 main ingredients. I've got them right here on the desk. First one is white vinegar. You probably get different brands. Me and Mr. Sarson have a long relationship, so I use that. Ingredient number 2 is lard. It's just rendered pig fat. You can render your own pig fat if you really want. I went down the shops and bought some in a little greased paper pack. Ingredient 3 is beeswax, which basically cures anything that has gone a bit manky. It's beautiful stuff. You can get this in pretty much any hardware and home care shop in the UK. I don't know about other countries. So I used an awful lot for polishing wood and furniture products and that sort of thing. So you can get it in most places where you can get wood and furniture polish. There's a 4th bonus ingredient, which is tallow, which is rendered beef fat, and I used a little bit of that in my mix as well, but I didn't have a great deal. So the main preservatives are the 2 wax and fat, and then the vinegar. You'll see how that gets used in just a second. Past Jimmy, over to you. So I'm out here in the backyard. I am cleaning out the shoes using a combination of techniques, tools, and ingredients. The first ingredient is this. It's 50-50 vinegar and water for spraying onto the leather, which will kill mould, and then the nice dead mould combined with that will make a sort of paste, so I can clean the rest off with the mighty wire brush scraper combo. I can't remember where I got this, but I've got it now, and it works really nicely for getting in between the sole and the uppers, which is good because the second shoe looks like this. Don't let your shoes get like this. It's not nice. Oh, the smell. Okay, so next comes lots of scraping and removal of the mould itself. But first, we're going to spray the vinegar water mix all over the shoes with a disgusted look on our face. Make sure you get a really good coating. Don't be afraid of using plenty of the mixture. It doesn't matter if it starts falling off, if you're dripping with vinegar and water at the end of this. You need to get a good coating. Wave at your neighbours if they go out for a cigarette. Remember that. Community is very important, especially during a lockdown. Get it in between the toggles, in between the sole and the upper. Get it under the tongue if your shoes have one. Do the soles as well. There's no point cleaning your shoes and having mouldy soles. If you've got a dirty sole, there's something wrong with you. Next stage in the proceedings is the removal of the vinegar and mould mixture. By now it has probably formed something of a slightly greasy paste with bits of mould. So I'm using a rag that's 100% cotton. You can use a linen rag if you want. The cotton rag actually was a little bit fibrous though, so do be careful, make sure that what you're using doesn't end up sticking fluff all over the shoe. My face tells you everything you need to know about the smell as this is happening. If you want to wear a face mask or a little dust mask to protect yourself from the rank whiff, by all means do so. As you can see, there's a strange red blob on my shoe. I do not know what that is. It might be blood. It might be something else. I haven't the foggiest idea where that came from. Let's speed this next bit up. You don't need to spend the next several minutes of your life watching me scrub shoes. Basically, the important thing to remember for this section is to get right into all the nooks and crannies on the inside of the shoe. Mould loves to grow in little dark crannies and corners. These have a toggle, so be careful around the edges and undersides of your toggles. Make sure that in between the insole and the sole and the upper, that's the obviously upper part of the shoe, the main leather bit that you see when you're walking around, make sure that you've got in between all of those layers with the rag, with the spray, and give it several coatings if you need to. On my second shoe, I could really have used a little more vinegar on the first run, and I do kind of regret that I didn't put quite as much of the spray on as I had on the first one. Once you're absolutely sure that you've got everything out of the shoe, wave to your neighbour again because she's finished her cigarette, and then you can move on to the next stage of the cleaning, which is scraping. Scrape away, especially once again between the upper and the sole. I can't emphasise that enough. There was so much manky, nasty, mouldy stuff growing in between these two pieces of the shoe. These shoes also have a two-part upper, so if you have a seam running down the upper of the shoe, make sure you get into there as well. Don't be shy with the wire brush. Okay, yes, metal is a lot tougher than leather, and if you're not careful, you could damage the leather. But these are at least 5-year-old shoes. They've had a lot of hard wear, and I'm pretty sure that if I ran this wire brush across my skin, it would cause me some abrasions, but this is oiled, tough old cowhide that's been treated and worn over a number of years. So if you want to give it a little wire brushing over the upper as well, do that gently. If you have a stiff bristled clothes brush, that might actually be better, or a shoe brush, obviously. Give it a damn good going over, but make sure that if you have organic bristles on your brush, you give them a wash afterwards, because you don't want mould then growing on your shoe brush. And it's not likely to happen. I think most of them have acrylic or artificially made bristles nowadays, but you can't be too careful. If you've got a scraper, then I recommend giving it a good scrape over as well, because that just gets rid of any of the remaining mould, vinegar, water paste that you might have missed going over it with your rag. And very quickly you see a difference. This stuff comes off really, really quickly and really, really easily with a bit of elbow grease. It does require some effort, as do most things worth doing in this life. Hey folks! There you go. Nearly as good as new. I've gone over both sides, I've gone over the inside, the toggle inside and outside has been scraped and washed. The insole has been scrubbed clean, all of the nice suede side of the leather. That takes a little more effort because obviously it's not quite as smooth as the grain on the outside. Yeah. And there you go guys, a nice clean pair of Viking shoes. After 3 weeks in the boot of a car, this is a hell of a difference. If this has happened to any of you guys, let me know in the comments. I'm sure you've got some horror stories out there that you'd just love to share with the internet. As you can see, they're both pretty much good as new. They've got some discoloration, but apart from that, they are mold free. Job done. Well done, Past Jimmy. Nice work. I applaud you and your dedication to the cause, and also for being friendly to the neighbours. That's an important thing that we seem to be losing in the modern day. Right. That brings us up to the end of the vinegar application. What we did next was apply a mix of some heated and melted tallow, lard, and beeswax. And all I did to melt that was I cut off a piece of lard, put it in a small glass dish, kind of thing you can get like the cheesecakes, the goo mini cheesecakes in. Not that I have a billion of those lying around the house because I'm a cheesecake addict or anything. Pop your beeswax in that, pop your lard in that, pop your tallow in it if you're using it. Pop that then in a saucepan of hot water. I didn't actually put the saucepan on the heat, I just had some boiling water, poured it into the saucepan, stirred the mixture around with a Swiss Army knife until it was nicely melted. Didn't want to use any cutlery for it, obviously. Once it's melted, dip a rag in, dab a rag in. Where's my rag? I've got my rag that I use down here. Dab a rag in it, and then using small circular motions, really rub a goodly amount into these shoes, which still smell a little bit like vinegar. I gave these a good rinse after applying the vinegar, and I also let them dry out for a little while. They are now coated in several layers of the mixture. What you'll see on them is, as you might expect, there is a bit of waxy residue on them. If you get a waxy residue on it, it's absolutely fine. All it is beeswax and lard. You know exactly what it is. But if you're worried or you think it unsightly, then absolutely go ahead and give it another good rub down. You'll get rid of it. And there you go. Here are the shoes now. They're slightly discoloured, unfortunately, from the mould. As you can see there, if I bend it the right way for the light, you can see the little black blooms from the mould. It's all dead mould, but it's obviously ingrained itself in the leather a little bit there. I'm hoping after a few more polishes and a bit more use, these will just darken enough that you won't be able to see that discoloration. But they're not mouldy, there's no more mould on them. The insides and the outsides are mould-free. There you go. Looking nice, almost as good as new. And there you have it. Brought back from the dead using beeswax and pig fat. If you want a vegan version of this, I haven't got one. I'm a Viking. So, thank you for watching, guys. If you've had this kind of experience before, I sympathise greatly. Hopefully this will avoid it happening to you again in future. Bye for now.